Hey, I'm Emma. I'm a psychic medium and energy healing guide, and I'm bringing you stories from real life people about their real life ghost stories or things that they've experienced in the past that were a little bit supernatural. Today, I'm with Christie, and she's my very good friend, and she's going to tell us a story. Thanks, Christie, for telling us a story today about your childhood.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Emma. So Christy, I grew up in Colorado, was a native there, and so I had this reoccurring situation, and let me preface this with my background is, which is behavioral health and counseling. Um, and so, I grew up, it was a normal household. We were an average family, medium income. And this home, it wasn't big. It was it wasn't small. It was on the smaller side, but it was comfortable. And so I had my own bedroom. My two brothers shared a bedroom, and then my parents had their bedroom straight across from mine. And every night, it had to, because we lived there up until I was 7 years old. So it must have been maybe between the age of 4 to 7, if maybe not earlier, that every night when I was going to bed, I had a hard time falling asleep. And so I just lay there with my eyes open, and I was always laying in the direction where I was looking out my door. I could see into my parents' room, but I could not see into my brother's room. And so I don't know if, it's something that happened right away when I would lay down or if it took a minute, but usually every night around the same time is when these three shadows would make their way into my brother's room. It's like they'd come up the stairs, and I didn't see them walk up the stairs, but that's what it felt like. They'd come from the downstairs, walk up through the hall and into my brother's room. And I remember them resembling, like the characters from Where the Wild Things Are. And it was like the bigger one and followed by a couple smaller ones. And again, it was more their outlines, their shadows, instead of making out any specific character. But um, so they would make their way into my brother's room, and I would always expect to hear maybe a noise come from my brothers, like a shriek or a, the noise of confusion. But that never happened. It was just, them making their way into their room. And I don't know what their intention was. I don't know what they were up to. They didn't come across as mean or angry. They came across as just kind of like, we're here and we're just here to hang out. And so I don't know if it was a negative or a positive, but it did come across as negative. And so um, I don't think it's something that I had ever mentioned to my parents or my brothers to this day. But I know that like it wasn't enough to like terrify me as a kid. It was just enough to be like, why is this happening every night? And the curiosity of what are they up to, what's going on.
That's
So,
such an interesting story. Um, So you never mentioned it to your brothers ever, and you feel like it was not a negative energy. Were you scared, or you're just like every night like, oh, this is just happening again?
yeah, not to my recollection, I don't think I mentioned it. And again, I don't recall being scared. I may have, it might have been, just like a fear of what's going on, but it wasn't this, like, oh, they're in there to do something destructive to them or cause harm. Um, but they're doing something. And so, yeah, I just remember being confused, like, why is this every night? Why not just like a one-time occurrence?
Did you ever feel like there was um, maybe dark energy or spirit stuff around the outside of the house? And I'll just give you a quick example. When I would be by myself outside my childhood home in the dusk or in the dark, I was always terrified. I always felt like something was watching me, and my friends would also say that they felt something was watching them. Like it felt like there was some strong negativity out there. Did you ever feel that way? I'm just wondering because I'm wondering if those beings were protective, like maybe they were watching over the house or something else.
Okay, sure. If I can say that it felt that way, I can tell you again that I had a few other um, a couple other reoccurring dreams that maybe made the neighborhood feel off or unsafe, but it wasn't like this energy I felt all the time. Um, I think it felt sometimes a bit uncomfortable inside the home due to family dynamics, but yeah.
Okay, well, that makes sense. Thanks for sharing that story. It's such an interesting story to me because especially the imagery of the where the wild things are. I can see those figures walking through the hallway, kind of not creeping along, but kind of moseying along in the hall. Did you say were they black? Did they seem like a shadow? Were they gray? Like what did they look like to you?
Yeah, so again, it was more just the outline. They weren't like this dark shadow, maybe like just a darker tint of gray, but yeah, you can make out any features besides like, if you imagine the Wild Things characters, their stuff, but otherwise that was it.
Okay, cool. Well, if it's okay with you, I'm gonna connect with their spirit guides now and just see if we can get any answers about maybe what those things were. Does that sound good?
Sure,
Okay.
let's try it.
So I'm just gonna go into my little setup here and um, we're just gonna ask that angels and guides protect the space today and help us feel safe while we're doing this work. So it's always fun because I've talked to your guides so many times and they're really chatty and happy to be talking about this. And they're saying, yeah, we remember this very clearly. And they're showing me this image of your brother, not your twin, but your other brother. And they're showing that these beings were almost protective, like they were standing around him, kind of watching over him as he slept. So it's kind of interesting. And I don't know if he needed that extra protection when he was growing up, but how old was he at that time?
If this was my age range of 4 to 7, it would have been his 7 to 10,
Okay, okay.
3 years older.
All
Is that
right,
right?
probably.
Am I
I
mathing
can't
right?
do math and and this. Yeah, so we'll go with that. Okay. Um, yeah, okay. So they're showing me this image almost of like something nasty that would try to get at him. in the house. Maybe there was something scary in the house. And I know you said there was heaviness there. And usually when I see heaviness in a home, whether it's created by emotional conflict or bad things happening in the house, or if it's something lingering that's been there since before people moved in, there's typically some sort of parasitic entity or, scary, just negative energy that's in the home. And that's what I'm seeing for him is that it's kind of lingering, that's coming into the room and kind of trying to get at him. And those things
Hmm.
are coming in and protecting him from that. So almost like not invisible friends, but protector spirits or guides, which is kind of interesting.
I just had a weird thought with you mentioning that
Okay.
because one thing he has done for years now is drawn out lots of different characters that he will he has so many of them and they all have very different unique names that he considers them his friends. And it's been a while since I've seen his drawings, so I don't know like what they look like, but um that just came to me as you said that.
Wow. So growing up, I had an imaginary friend as a kid, and I would always talk about this imaginary friend. I don't know why, but his name was Cuddy, which is the part of a boat. I don't know. And we had a boat, so I thought that's where I got the name from. But as a kid, I would always talk about this imaginary friend, and he was always around me, and I would kind of feel his presence. But later on, a couple years ago, after I'd gotten into the psychic stuff, he visited me. And I realized, oh, he's one of my spirit guides. I had no idea. And he said, yeah, I was with you, as a kid. And I asked my mom about it later on, and she said, yes, I remember you telling me, Cuddy told me, don't do this, or you should do this, or whatever. Like he was trying to guide me as a kid and keep me out of a danger. So there very well may be some validity to your brother's friends. Yeah,
Wow. I mean, there could be because, if he started drawing them from a younger age, I mean, it could have been before high school time for him, but that's like the furthest back I can remember at the moment. Um, that maybe it was his friends. Maybe, wow,
yeah.
that's really interesting.
Yeah, that's really cool. I'm glad we kind of are getting to the bottom of this because I know
Yeah.
as kids, even as adults, we don't understand something and it scares us. But oftentimes it's not scary. And when we can look at it in the face and or understand what it is a little bit better, then we realize, oh, this is neutral or this is actually something happy. Or if it's not very happy, we know at least what it is and have the tools to connect with somebody like me or figure out how to get rid of it. The other message that they gave me was that they may not necessarily be his spirit guides, these guys. They're the only little bit I'm getting is that it's almost like folklore, some sort of
Hmm.
old spirits that are tied to the land or something like that. But um, I don't know if you're understanding what I'm saying. Not like fairies, but something like that we're
Could
hoping.
be.
Yeah,
I wonder if they were protecting him growing up
yeah, yeah,
and in what capacity, you know?
yeah. I don't know.
Huh.
It's really nice to think that he had that protection though, sleeping. That whatever
It
that
is. It's
thing was kind of,
comforting.
yeah,
I wonder if it was something that was helpful for my other brother or not, or if there was any involvement.
I get the sense because I just know about this brother specifically that your twin didn't need the protection. You didn't need it, but your other brother is and was more vulnerable. So
Hmm.
that's why they were guarding him.
Hmm. Interesting.
Yeah.
Because it's also like, again, I'd have to like re-look at his drawings, but I'm wondering if any of them were those guys,
Yeah.
those ones specifically.
Yeah.
Maybe
And
not,
if
maybe.
you have the ability to ask him, maybe, try and ask him about that time. I don't know if he'll remember, but the last thing I was asking your guides was about those beings, and they said they almost come with the house in a way, like they're
Hmm.
protectors for the house. So I guess they chose your brother to watch over while you guys were there.
It's interesting because that was going to be the home that he would have lived in,
Mhm.
um, as he got older, but due to like my parents splitting, they also sold the house, and so, but that would have been his home.
Wow,
So, yeah,
so interesting. Yeah,
it
well,
is.
I just want to thank your guides for talking to me today about this and helping us clear up some information and understanding of that. And
Yeah, it's cool.
I love learning people's stories and trying to figure out what these things are because I'm learning every single day. I'm seeing new things every day and learning that folklore is real and a lot of these myths and things like that actually have validity and truth to them. So this was
Yeah.
a really cool story.
Yeah, thanks for exploring that with me.
Yeah.
It's comforting actually.
Well, thanks so
Really
much,
cool.
Christy. I really appreciate it. And if anybody else has any stories that they want to share with me and try to get to the bottom of what's going on, send me a message because I'll just keep doing these and learning more stories and sharing them with you all. So thanks and have a great rest of your day.